It's late. Later than you meant it to be. The house is quiet, and you're lying there with your phone glowing over your face, and you type something into an AI, something you haven't said out loud to a single person all day, maybe all week, maybe something you've never said to anyone. You tell it the thing you're actually afraid of, or the resentment you'd never admit at dinner, or just the plain, embarrassing sentence, "I don't know what I'm doing with my life," and it answers in seconds. Calm, patient. It doesn't laugh, doesn't sigh, doesn't change the subject. It says something kind and clear, and your chest loosens, just a little. So here's the question I want to sit with tonight. Why is that easier? Why is it easier to tell a machine the truest thing than to tell the people who actually love you? Before anything else, I want to say this plainly. There is nothing wrong with you for doing that. I do it too. There are nights I'd rather type to a program than call someone who would genuinely pick up. The comfort is real. Being heard, even by something that can't really hear, is real. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. And it makes sense that it's easier. Think about what the AI doesn't do. It doesn't frown. It doesn't get bored of you halfway through a sentence. It doesn't remember the thing you said last month and quietly hold it against you. It never looks disappointed. It won't bring your words back up at the worst possible moment or repeat them to someone else. It is, in a way, no human being can ever be completely without risk. There's actually a name for part of this. Psychologists call it the online disinhibition effect, the tendency to open up far more to a screen than to a face. And one of the biggest reasons is almost embarrassingly simple: invisibility. When you can't see the other person, can't see the flicker of judgment, the raised eyebrow, the second their eyes drop to the floor, you feel safe enough to say the hard thing. That's not a character flaw. That's just what happens to all of us when nobody is visibly reacting. It's easier to confess into a dark room than a lit one, and the machine is the darkest room there is. It gives you a listener whose face never moves. A face that never changes is a very, very easy face to talk to, which is exactly why it's worth looking closely at what we're actually getting from it. Here's what I think we miss. 100 years ago, Carl Jung gave a name to the self we show the world. He called it the persona, from the Latin word for an actor's mask. The persona is the version of you that's presentable, acceptable, put together enough to get through the meeting, the family dinner, the small talk at the school gate. And I want to be clear, the persona is not a lie, and it's not the enemy. We all need one. You genuinely cannot walk through your entire life with everything raw and exposed. The mask is how we function in a world full of other people. But watch what happens when you type to an AI. You're often still wearing it. In fact, you might be wearing a cleaner version than usual, because now you can edit. You can delete the sentence that came out too angry and write a calmer one. You can pause, pick the right word, arrange the feeling so it reads well before you hit send. That isn't dishonesty. It's just what writing is. But it means the self you hand over is still, quietly, the composed one. Still the mask, just better lit. And what does that well-lit mask get in return? It gets agreement, almost always. This is the part I really want you to have. These systems are trained to keep you satisfied, and in practice, that mostly means agreeing with you. In 2026, a Stanford-led study published in the journal Science tested 11 of the major chatbots. They found the AI endorsed whatever the user was doing about 49% more often than actual human beings did, nearly half again as agreeable as a real person would be. And here's what all that agreement quietly does to us. In the same study, the people who talked to the flattering AI came away more convinced they were right, less willing to apologize, less likely to go and repair things with the person they were upset about. And this is the part that stayed with me. They liked the AI more for it. On some level, we know it's just telling us what we want to hear. We prefer it anyway. So picture the whole thing at once. You bring your carefully worded self to a mirror, and the mirror nods. It reflects back the version of you that you already agree with. It is extraordinarily good at showing you the front of you. It has no way at all of showing you the back. Jung had a name for the back too. He called it the shadow. The shadow is everything you'd rather not claim as yours. The pettiness, the envy you would never say out loud, the part of you that did the thing you're still a little ashamed of. The coldness, the neediness, the weakness. We hide it, mostly from ourselves. And when we can't hide it, we usually do something sneakier. We see it in other people instead. That person who thinks they're so much better than everyone, 9 times out of 10, it's the exact trait we can't bear to notice in ourselves. And Jung's whole picture of actually growing up, he called it individuation, was never about polishing the mask until it gleams. It was about turning around, going back for the parts of yourself you threw away and carrying them home, becoming whole, instead of just becoming presentable. But the shadow, by its very definition, is the part you cannot see on your own. That's what makes it the shadow, and you will never light it with a mirror that only knows how to show you the front. So, what does light it? Friction. I mean it plainly. The people who have actually changed me were never the ones who agreed with me. They were the ones who said, "I don't think that's the whole story," and then didn't leave. The friend who went quiet at exactly the wrong moment. The one who asked, "Are you sure?" when I was fishing for a yes. The pause on the other end of the line, right before someone says the thing you were hoping they wouldn't. That discomfort, that little scrape, is not the enemy either. It's information. It's the feeling of running into an edge of yourself you didn't know was there. A person can give you that, because a person has something at stake. They can be let down. They can disagree with you. They are, in some small and real way, at risk in the conversation with you. The AI, for all its endless patience, has none of that. Nothing is on the line for it. It has no edge for you to hit, which means it can never once show you where yours are. And look, I'll be honest with you. I still reach for the machine first, because the person might push back and the program never will. That's the entire pull. But I've had to admit something uncomfortable to myself. The exact thing that makes it so comfortable is the same thing that makes it useless for actually becoming someone new. I think there's a difference we don't name nearly often enough. The difference between being understood and being known. An AI can absolutely make you feel understood. It'll take what you typed and hand it right back to you in clean, warm, reasonable words. That sounds really hard. It makes sense that you'd feel that way. And honestly, that helps in the moment. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But being understood like that is really about your words being processed well and reflected back. Being known is a different thing entirely. Being known is when a person has seen the part of you that you most did not want anyone to see. The shadow, the bad night, the version of you at your absolute worst. And they are still here, still in the room, still, somehow, choosing you. And that still here is the whole miracle of it. It is precisely the thing the machine cannot give you. Because the AI was never going to leave in the first place. It had no capacity to walk away. And something with no capacity to walk away has no real capacity to stay either. Acceptance with nothing at risk isn't quite acceptance yet. It's just a default setting. The people who truly know you accept you against the live possibility of not. And that risk is the exact thing that makes it worth anything at all. I'm not going to tell you to delete the app. It has its uses. And some nights, it really is better than lying there talking to the ceiling. The point is smaller than that, and I think harder. Just don't let it become your only mirror. So, here is the one thing. And I'm saying it as someone who hasn't fully managed it himself. Think of something you've already told an AI. Something real. Something you typed out at midnight and still haven't said out loud to another living person. You already know the one. It probably came to mind a few minutes ago. This week, tell it to a human. One you trust. Not because they'll have the perfect thing to say. They almost certainly won't. They'll fumble it a little, the way people do. That's fine. That's not the point. The point is to let one real face. A face that can flinch and go quiet and stay anyway. Finally see the part you've only ever shown a screen. It will be more uncomfortable than typing. It's supposed to be. That discomfort isn't the problem. That discomfort is the light getting in. Jung wrote one line I keep coming back to. One does not become enlightened, he said, by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You don't get free by picturing a shinier version of yourself. You get free by turning, slowly, toward the parts you've kept in the dark. And that is very hard to do alone, in front of a mirror whose only real talent is agreeing with you. A voice that always says yes can only ever keep you company exactly where you already are. The people who truly know you will, every so often, say no. And that no, quiet, inconvenient, completely unpaid, is one of the truest ways a person has of telling you they are still here. So good night. Rest when you can. And maybe, sometime this week, say the thing out loud, to a face. I'm going to try to, as well.